What if I told you that a dirty, scratched, and badly worn 5-cent Canadian coin in your pocket could be worth millions of dollars? Astonished face. In this video, we reveal 4 extremely rare Canadian 5-cent coins that shocked collectors worldwide, coins so valuable that even in terrible condition they can change your life forever. Don't blink, because one of these nickels might already be in your hands. First up, the 1970 Canadian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II, commonly known as the Beaver nickel, represents an important yet often misunderstood chapter in Canada's modern numismatic history, especially when examined in bad or heavily circulated condition, because this coin reflects not only monetary use but also the economic habits, industrial growth, and daily life of Canadians during the late 20th century, a period when Canada was transitioning rapidly in technology, population, and global influence. Minted under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, whose youthful portrait designed by Arnold Machen appears on the obverse, the 1975-cent coin carries her right-facing effigy with the Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Regina, meaning, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, while the reverse side displays the iconic beaver, a national symbol of Canada representing hard work, resilience, and the fur trade that played a foundational role in Canada's early economy, along with the inscriptions 5 cents in Canada and the year 1970. This coin was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in large quantities for everyday circulation, and at that time it was composed of 99.9% nickel, making it both durable and industrially significant, as nickel mining, particularly in Sudbury, Ontario, was a major contributor to Canada's economy, and because of this high nickel content, these coins were magnetic and heavier than later steel-based issues. When discussing a bad condition 1970 Canadian 5-cent coin, one must understand that most surviving examples fall into this category due to decades of heavy use, meaning such coins often exhibit extensive wear, flattened details on Queen Elizabeth's hair and facial features, weak or partially missing inscriptions, smoothing of the beaver's fur texture, loss of rim definition, scratches, nicks, corrosion, dark toning, discoloration, and sometimes environmental damage from moisture or improper storage, all of which drastically reduce collector value but significantly increase historical character, as these marks tell the story of how the coin passed through countless hands, cash registers, pockets, and purses during a time when coins were the backbone of daily transactions. In numismatic grading terms, bad condition examples are usually classified as poor P1, fair FR2, about good AG3, or good G4, and while such grades carry minimal monetary value, often only face value or slightly above, their educational value remains strong, especially for beginner collectors learning how wear affects coin design and value. It is also important to note that the 1970 issue does not belong to a rare low mintage year, nor is it a known major error year, which further explains why bad condition coins are extremely common today, but collectors still examine them carefully for unusual features such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, die cracks, or double strikes, which can exist even on worn coins and significantly increase value. Historically, the year 1970 was notable in Canada as it marked a period of social reform, bilingual policy expansion, and modernization under Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and coins from this era silently witnessed these changes as they circulated alongside rising prices, evolving retail systems, and the gradual move toward electronic payments decades later, despite their low financial worth. Badly worn 1970 Canadian 5-cent coins are often kept as sentimental items, educational tools, or bulk collection fillers, and many people unknowingly store them away because of the solid nickel content, which today holds intrinsic industrial value even if the coin itself is not rare. In the broader collecting world, such coins are often used to demonstrate the contrast between circulated and uncirculated examples, helping collectors appreciate how mint luster, sharp details, and original surfaces dramatically affect desirability. Moreover, the beaver nickel series as a whole remains one of the most beloved Canadian coin designs, and even a damaged or worn 1970 piece still carries national symbolism and historical continuity dating back to earlier nickel issues. In conclusion, while a bad condition 1970 Canada 5-cent Queen Elizabeth II coin is not valuable in a financial sense, it is rich in cultural, educational, and historical meaning, serving as a tangible reminder of everyday life in 1970s Canada, the durability of nickel coinage, and the enduring legacy of Queen Elizabeth II's long reign, making it a humble yet meaningful artifact rather than a treasure measured by price alone. Next up, the 1974 Canadian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II, widely recognized as part of the long-running Beaver Nickel series, is a fascinating example of everyday coinage that carries deep historical, cultural, and economic significance, especially when examined in bad or heavily circulated condition, because this coin reflects the real-life usage patterns of Canadians during the mid-1970s, a time marked by global inflation, energy crises, social change, and economic restructuring. Struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, the obverse of the coin displays the mature right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machen, surrounded by the Latin legend Elizabeth II dg Regina, affirming her role as queen by divine grace, while the reverse proudly shows the iconic beaver, a powerful national symbol representing perseverance, engineering skill, and Canada's historical dependence on the fur trade, along with the inscriptions 5 cents, Canada, and the date 1974. During this year, Canada was still producing its 5-cent coins in 99.9% pure nickel, giving the coin a solid feel, strong magnetic properties, and long-lasting durability, which explains why so many examples still exist today despite decades of circulation. However, because the coin was minted in very large quantities for daily transactions, most surviving specimens are found in poor to good condition, often showing extensive wear such as flattened facial features on the Queen's portrait, loss of hair detail, weakened or partially missing lettering, smooth fields, heavy scratches, rim damage, nicks, edge dents, dark oxidation, uneven toning, and in some cases corrosion caused by moisture exposure or improper storage, all of which place the coin into grading categories like poor P1, fair FR2, about good AG3, or good G4. While such bad condition examples generally hold little to no premium over face value in today's numismatic market, their importance lies in their authenticity as objects that truly circulated through grocery stores, bus fares, vending machines, and everyday commerce during a decade when cash transactions dominated Canadian life. Historically, the year 1974 was significant as Canada faced rising inflation, wage controls, and economic uncertainty under Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and coins like this nickel silently passed through the hands of millions as prices rose and purchasing power shifted, making the coin a small but powerful witness to social and economic history. Collectors and researchers often use worn 1974 nickels as educational tools to study metal durability, circulation patterns, and the visual effects of long-term wear on coin designs, while beginners learn to compare heavily circulated pieces with uncirculated or proof examples to understand how condition dramatically affects value. Despite its common status, the 1974 5-cent coin is still closely examined for minting anomalies or errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, weak strikes, lamination errors, or die cracks, because even a badly worn coin can become highly desirable if a genuine error is present. Emotionally and culturally, many people keep these coins as nostalgic items, remembering a time when the beaver nickel was a constant companion in pockets and purses, symbolizing reliability and national identity. Furthermore, The pure nickel composition gives the coin an intrinsic industrial relevance, as nickel remains an important material in modern manufacturing, adding another layer of interest beyond simple face value. In the broader scope of Canadian numismatics, the 1974 Elizabeth II 5-cent coin serves as a bridge between earlier classic nickel issues and later plated steel coins, marking the end of an era of heavy, solid metal coinage. In conclusion, although a bad condition Canada 5-cent 1974 Queen Elizabeth II coin may not be financially valuable, it is historically rich, culturally meaningful, and educationally important, embodying decades of circulation, the economic realities of 1970s Canada, the enduring symbolism of the beaver, and the long reign of Queen Elizabeth II, making it a humble yet powerful artifact of everyday history rather than a treasure defined solely by price. Next up, the 2008 Canadian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II, often casually referred to as a modern beaver nickel, represents a crucial transitional era in Canadian coinage, and when examined in bad or heavily circulated condition, it tells a surprisingly complex story about modern economics, changing minting technology, and the everyday life of Canadians in the early 21st century. Produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, the obverse of the coin bears the right-facing effigy of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Susanna Blunt, a portrait introduced in 2003 that removed the crown and presented the Queen in a more contemporary, dignified style, surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth II DG Regina, while the reverse side continues the beloved and long-standing beaver design by G.E. Kruger Gray, accompanied by the inscriptions 5 cents, Canada, and the date 2008, visually linking this modern coin to over 8 decades of Canadian numismatic tradition. Unlike earlier 5-cent coins struck in nearly pure nickel, the 2008 issue was produced using multi-ply plated steel technology, consisting of a steel core coated with layers of nickel and copper, a change implemented to reduce production costs and improve durability amid rising metal prices. And this technological shift profoundly affects how these coins wear, corrode, and age in circulation. Because of their steel core, badly worn 2008 5-cent coins often show distinctive damage patterns such as peeling or flaking plating, rust spots where moisture penetrates the outer layers, discoloration ranging from dark gray to reddish brown, surface bubbling, edge splits, and loss of sharp detail on both the Queen's portrait and the beaver, making bad condition examples visually very different from older solid nickel coins. In grading terms, these coins frequently fall into about good AG3, good G4, very good VG8, or lower when severely damaged, and while such examples generally have little collector premium and are usually worth face value, their condition offers valuable insight into the strengths and weaknesses of modern plated coin technology. The year 2008 itself was historically significant, marked by the global financial crisis, rising fuel prices, and economic uncertainty, and coins like this 5-cent piece circulated widely during a time when cash use was still common but digital payments were rapidly increasing, meaning these coins bridged the gap between traditional physical money and the emerging cashless economy. Because the Royal Canadian Mint produced extremely large quantities of 2008 nickels for circulation, surviving examples are abundant, and most have seen heavy use in vending machines, public transit, retail stores, and everyday transactions, explaining why bad condition coins are far more common than pristine uncirculated ones. Collectors often use worn 2008 5-cent coins as study pieces to understand plating failure, environmental damage, and circulation wear unique to steel-based coinage, while educators use them to demonstrate how cost-cutting measures in modern mints impact long-term coin survival. Despite their low market value, these coins are still carefully checked for mint errors, including off-center strikes, missing plating, weakly bonded layers, clipped planchettes, double dies, or misaligned cores, because such errors, if genuine, can command significant premiums even on otherwise worn coins. Culturally, the continued use of the beaver on a modern coin reinforces Canada's commitment to national symbolism, while Queen Elizabeth II's portrait reflects her enduring presence on Canadian currency throughout one of the longest reigns in history. In everyday life, many people dismiss badly worn 2008 nickels as worthless, yet they remain tangible reminders of a pivotal moment in economic history when traditional coinage adapted to global market pressures. In the broader context of Canadian numismatics, the 2008 Elizabeth II 5-cent coin marks a mature stage of modern minting technology, standing in contrast to the heavy, solid nickel coins of earlier decades and highlighting the evolving relationship between metal value and monetary trust. In conclusion, although a bad condition Canada 5-cent 2008 Queen Elizabeth II coin holds little financial value, it carries substantial historical, technological, and educational significance, embodying the realities of modern circulation, the effects of plated steel construction, the economic climate of the late 2000s, and the enduring legacy of Queen Elizabeth II on Canadian coinage, making it a modest yet meaningful artifact of contemporary monetary history rather than a collectible defined by rarity or price. Next up, the 1998 Canadian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II, commonly known as part of the long-running Beaver Nickel series, represents the final phase of traditional solid nickel circulation coinage in Canada, and when examined in bad or heavily circulated condition, it becomes a powerful artifact of everyday economic life in the late 1990s, a period marked by technological transition, globalization, and shifting consumer behavior. Minted by the Royal Canadian Mint, the obverse of the coin displays the right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Dora de Pedery Hunt, a dignified crowned effigy introduced in 1990, surrounded by the Latin legend Elizabeth II DG Regina, while the reverse features the iconic beaver, designed by G. E. Kruger Gray, symbolizing perseverance, craftsmanship, and Canada's historical roots in the fur trade, accompanied by the inscriptions 5 cents, Canada, and the date 1998. This coin was struck in 99.9% pure nickel, making it one of the last 5-cent issues before Canada transitioned to more cost-effective plated steel compositions in the early 2000s, and this high nickel content contributes to the coin's weight, magnetic properties, and long-term durability. However, due to extremely high mintages and widespread daily use, the majority of surviving 1998 nickels are found today in poor to good condition, often displaying heavy wear such as flattened facial details on the Queen's portrait, smooth or partially missing inscriptions, loss of beaver fur texture, rim damage, edge nicks, contact marks, scratches, dark toning, uneven discoloration, and occasional corrosion caused by environmental exposure or improper storage, all of which place such coins into grading categories like poor P1, fair FR2, about good AG3, or good G4. Although these badly worn examples generally carry little collector premium and are usually worth only face value, they are invaluable for understanding circulation patterns and the physical stresses endured by coins during a time when cash transactions were still dominant but electronic payments were beginning to emerge. The historical context of 1998 adds depth to this coin's story, as Canada was experiencing economic stabilization, rapid internet adoption, and cultural globalization, and coins like this 5-cent piece circulated quietly through supermarkets, public transit systems, vending machines, and small businesses, serving as a constant presence in everyday commerce. Collectors and educators often use worn 1998 nickels as teaching tools to compare traditional solid nickel coinage with later plated steel issues, highlighting differences in wear behavior, corrosion resistance, and overall longevity. Despite their common status, these coins are routinely examined for mint errors or varieties, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, die cracks, lamination errors, or weak strikes, because even a heavily worn coin can become valuable if a genuine error is present. From a cultural perspective, the continued use of the beaver reinforces Canada's national identity, while Queen Elizabeth II's portrait reflects her enduring role on Canadian currency during one of the longest and most stable reigns in modern history. Many people keep worn 1998 5-cent coins out of nostalgia, remembering a time before widespread contactless payments, when coins still played a central role in daily life. In the broader landscape of Canadian numismatics, the 1998 Elizabeth II 5-cent coin stands at the edge of a major transition in minting technology and monetary philosophy, marking the closing years of heavy, metal-rich coinage before economic realities reshaped production methods. In conclusion, while a bad condition Canada 5-cent 1998 Queen Elizabeth II coin may not be financially valuable, it is historically rich, educationally meaningful, and culturally symbolic, capturing the wear of real circulation, the economic atmosphere of the late 1990s, the durability of pure nickel coinage, and the lasting legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, making it a humble yet compelling piece of everyday Canadian history rather than a treasure defined by rarity or market price. Next up, the 1976 Canadian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II, commonly referred to as part of the classic Beaver Nickel series, is an everyday coin that quietly carries a powerful historical story, and when examined in bad or heavily circulated condition, it becomes a true witness to Canadian life during one of the country's most symbolic years, because 1976 was the year Canada hosted the Montreal Summer Olympics, a moment of national pride that coincided with economic challenges such as inflation and changing industrial priorities. Struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, the obverse of the coin shows the right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Arnold Machen, surrounded by the Latin inscription Elizabeth II DG Regina, affirming her role as Queen by divine grace, while the reverse continues the beloved and instantly recognizable beaver design created by G. E. Kruger Gray, along with the inscriptions 5 cents, Canada, and the date 1976, a design that had become deeply embedded in Canada's national identity by the mid-1970s. During this period, Canadian 5-cent coins were still struck in 99.9% pure nickel, giving them a solid, heavy feel, strong magnetic properties, and excellent resistance to wear, which explains why so many examples still exist decades later despite constant use. However, because these coins were produced in very large quantities and circulated heavily, most surviving 1976 nickels are found today in bad condition, showing extensive wear such as flattened and softened details on Queen Elizabeth II's hair and facial features, smooth or partially missing lettering, heavy field wear, loss of fine fur detail on the beaver, rounded rims, edge damage, deep scratches, contact marks, dark gray or black toning, and in some cases corrosion caused by long-term exposure to moisture or harsh environments, placing them in grading categories such as poor P1, fair FR2, about good AG3, or good G4. While such badly worn examples typically hold little to no collector premium and are often worth only face value, they remain extremely important for understanding real circulation history, as each mark and worn surface reflects countless everyday transactions in shops, buses, vending machines, payphones, and parking meters during a time when coins were essential to daily commerce. The broader historical context adds further depth, as mid-1970s Canada was navigating economic uncertainty, energy price fluctuations, and social change under Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and coins like this 5-cent piece moved silently through society as Canadians adapted to rising costs and modern lifestyles. Numismatists and educators frequently use worn 1976 nickels as study pieces to demonstrate how high nickel coinage ages over time, comparing them with earlier and later issues to show differences in strike quality, wear patterns, and metal durability. Despite being common, these coins are still carefully examined for mint errors or unusual varieties, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, lamination flaws, or weak strikes, because genuine errors can exist even on heavily worn coins and may significantly increase value. Culturally, the beaver remains a powerful national symbol of hard work and perseverance, while Queen Elizabeth II's portrait reflects the continuity and stability of her long reign, making even a damaged coin a meaningful piece of national heritage. Many people keep worn 1976 nickels as nostalgic reminders of childhood, Olympic-era Canada, or simpler times when small change had real purchasing power. In the larger scope of Canadian numismatics, the 1976 Elizabeth II 5-cent coin stands as part of the final decades of traditional solid nickel coinage before rising metal prices forced a transition to cheaper plated steel compositions in the early 2000s. In conclusion, although a bad condition Canada 5-cent 1976 Queen Elizabeth II coin is not financially valuable, it is historically rich, culturally symbolic, and educationally significant, capturing the wear of true circulation, the economic and social atmosphere of Olympic-era Canada, the strength of pure nickel coinage, and the enduring legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, making it a humble yet powerful artifact of everyday Canadian history rather than a collectible measured solely by market price. Next are up. The 2012 Canadian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II, part of the modern continuation of the iconic beaver nickel design, represents a mature stage of Canada's contemporary coinage system, and when viewed in bad or heavily circulated condition, it offers a revealing look into how modern materials, economic realities, and changing payment habits affect everyday money in the 21st century. Produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, the obverse displays the right-facing uncrowned portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Susanna Blunt, a design first introduced in 2003 that emphasizes realism and dignity over regal symbolism, encircled by the Latin legend Elizabeth II DG Regina, while the reverse side continues the beloved beaver motif created by G.E. Kruger Gray, accompanied by the inscriptions 5 cents, Canada, and the date 2012, maintaining a visual link to nearly a century of Canadian numismatic tradition. Unlike earlier 5-cent coins struck in nearly pure nickel, the 2012 issue was manufactured using multi-ply plated steel technology, consisting of a steel core layered with nickel and copper, a cost-efficient method adopted to address rising metal prices and improve long-term production sustainability, and this construction plays a major role in how the coin deteriorates in circulation. In bad condition, a 2012 Canadian 5-cent coin often exhibits distinctive modern wear patterns such as loss of surface plating, visible steel exposure, reddish-brown rust spots caused by moisture penetration, peeling or bubbling metal layers, edge splitting, deep scratches, heavy contact marks, softened design details, flattened lettering, and uneven discoloration, which differ significantly from the smooth, dark toning seen on older solid nickel coins. In numismatic grading terms, heavily worn examples typically fall into about good AG3, good G4, or very good VG8 categories, and while such coins usually carry no premium beyond face value, they are extremely useful for studying the durability and weaknesses of modern plated coinage. The historical context of 2012 adds further depth, as Canada was firmly established in the digital age, with debit cards, contactless payments, and online transactions rapidly reducing reliance on physical cash. Yet coins like this 5-cent piece continued to circulate widely in vending machines, transit systems, parking meters, and small cash transactions, making them survivors of a shrinking cash economy. Collectors and educators often use worn 2012 nickels as teaching examples to compare traditional metal-rich coinage with modern steel-based issues. illustrating how economic pressures influence minting decisions and how these decisions impact long-term coin preservation. Despite their common status, 2012 5-cent coins are still carefully inspected for mint errors, including missing or partial plating, off-center strikes, misaligned cores, double strikes, weak strikes, or clipped planchets, because genuine errors, especially those involving plating defects, can command strong premiums even if the coin shows circulation wear. Culturally, the continued presence of the beaver reinforces Canada's national identity and historical continuity, while Queen Elizabeth II's portrait reflects her enduring role on Canadian currency late into her reign, symbolizing stability in a rapidly changing world. Many people overlook badly worn modern coins, yet they quietly record the story of everyday transactions, economic adaptation, and technological change. In the broader scope of Canadian numismatics, the 2012 Elizabeth II 5-cent coin stands as a clear example of how modern coinage prioritizes efficiency over intrinsic metal value, marking a significant contrast with the heavy nickel coins of the past. In conclusion, although a bad condition Canada 5-cent 2012 Queen Elizabeth II coin is not financially valuable in most cases, it is historically informative, technologically revealing, and educationally important, capturing the realities of modern circulation, the effects of plated steel construction, the economic environment of the early 2010s, and the lasting legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, making it a modest yet meaningful artifact of contemporary Canadian monetary history rather than a collectible defined by rarity or high market value.